Welcome to Rewatch and Rank. On this channel, we rewatch older TV shows, provide a summary and opinion on the episode before ranking each episode against each other. Today's episode is Charmed Season 3, Episode 2, Magic Hour. The episode in a nutshell is just a brief reminder of what happens within this episode. In this episode, there are two main plot lines, one concerning Piper and one concerning the innocence of the episode. So we'll start with the innocence. Kit brings home an owl in the morning, which then turns into Christopher, who reveals that, well, basically the sisters try to help him. He kind of refuses the help. He runs away. Phoebe gets a premonition. They end up following him into a little cabin in the woods where a wolf comes, and then basically as the sun changes, so she stays a wolf overnight, he stays an owl during the day. So, and in that time where it changes from night to day, they are able to see each other, and then we get Brooke, who was the wolf at night, becoming human, and the sisters approach her to help them be together and find out that she was cursed until a night is within a day. There's some distrust at first, but eventually they convince them to come to the manor. However, at the manor, the demon who cursed them sends people to kill Christopher, and he ends up being shot in his owl form, and Leo is unable to heal animals, and so they would have to wait until sunset, and she doesn't believe that he will make it that long, and so she leaves to go to the demon to basically give herself to him, which is the second way to break the curse. However, it happens to be a day where there is an eclipse, and the eclipse is the night within a day, so Chris becomes human again. Leo heals him. They then go to the office buildings and bring Chris with them. Just as she is about to give herself over to the boss and seal it with a kiss, they burst open the door, bring Christopher. They run to each other. The boss tries to interfere. Piper freezes him. Prue disarms him, and then they unfreeze him just in time so that he can watch Christopher and Brooke share their true love's kiss and break the curse, which ends up vanquishing him with flames that start in his heart and then head out towards the rest of his body. Then the second plot of the episode, of course, is revolving around the wedding of Piper and Leo. As we know from the previous episode, they have to elope in secret as they are not allowed to be together. And Piper is understandably uncomfortable with this, but feels that it's worth it. And at first, both Prue and Phoebe are also behind it. However, then Leo and Piper reveal that if they are caught, it is unspeakable wrath, which basically gives Phoebe pause and she stops being supportive of the relationship and starts to plant seeds of doubt within Piper. They go to a bookstore for Piper to buy books on elopement, which is where they meet Cole. Cole and Phoebe have a flirtation in the bookstore. The books end up swapped so that Cole gets Piper's books and they get Cole's books. They then go home and they are working under a code name, Rutabaga, to hide the wedding from any listening ears as they plan it. And basically, Phoebe gets a visit from Grams in ghost form, essentially telling her to smarten up, support your sister, love is worth it, so on, so forth. And so when Piper is overheard having doubts when talking to Brooke, Leo overhears it. They go outside. She starts to express her doubts to Leo, but then Phoebe comes out and basically tells them that they have her blessing. And it is as they are taking Christopher to Brooke that Piper gets basically a magical sign that the time is right. Because of the eclipse, they can't look up, but the elders can't look down, and so that is the right time, but Piper decides to put the innocents first and get Christopher to Brooke first. They then hurry back home to try to get the wedding done before the eclipse is over. However, before the wedding begins, even before the eclipse is over, Leo is abducted by the elders, and this, of course, devastates Piper. We then get a closing scene with Cole where we see that he is working with the Triad, and they thank him for giving the information on the nuptials and how they were happy to share that information. In other words, it was Cole's fault that the wedding failed, and that is where we end this episode. So now we come to the part of the video where we are going to be ranking this episode on our mostly objective list and then also on our personal ranking list. All right, so for this episode, a lot apply in our mostly objective values, and I've highlighted what I felt applied to this episode. So first off, we have our single episode supporting character introductions, and this is Christopher and Brooke, who are basically literally first paralleling Piper and Lee's the 2 points. So once again, as a reminder, I told in the summary, Brooke and Christopher the ball and did not like it. He was rejected. He decided to curse them overnight, and then a woman during the day, Christopher during and at night, and they are never able to when they are changing from animal to human at the changeover from night to day. And they are to remain cursed until a night within a day, which is the eclipse. So when the eclipse happens, the sisters make sure that they are able to get together, and upon sharing their kiss of true love, the evil boss who cursed them ends up vanquished, and they live happily ever after, presumably off screen. And it's a beautiful relationship. The next one, of course, is our multi-season supporting character development, which is where we learned that Grams is actually, like Penny Grams, is actually a high priestess. And even though she is already dead, she can apparently officiate a hand fasting ceremony even as a ghost. So that is a nice development. We then have, worth 4 points, our multi-season main character development, which is of course the fact that Cole is working for the Triad, and he gave the information on the elopement, which allowed the elders to stop the wedding, even though it should have been able to go ahead because they weren't able to look down, but as they were warned in advance, they were able to abduct Leo. And then, of course, Leo was abducted. Big development for him. Next, we have our multi-season main character growth, which of course is the emotional growth of Piper, or at least what I felt was an emotional growth. She's in love with Leo. They've been planning this wedding. It is their one chance and opportunity to have the wedding in secret, and she chooses to delay that in order to help the innocents, putting the innocents first before her relationship and happiness, which is very big of her, and hence growth. Anywho, the next positive that we have, and the final positive that we have, is another 4 points for our main relationship development, which of course is the planning of the elopement and the secret wedding under the code name Rutabaga. And we have the Rutabaga attempt. However, the groom was abducted. So it failed, which we will get to later. We then also have our Cole-Phoebe relationship, where they are very much flirting, and Phoebe is very obvious in her liking of him. They have the bookstore meet cute, and then they also later have a porch meet cute where we see Cole and Phoebe flirting very much on the porch. Leo comes and says hello to Cole, shaking his hand, and leaves a residue of white or blue white light on his hand, which he says that white lighters are always so messy, which I found interesting as a bit of an aside. But then we come into our negatives. So obviously we have our negative messaging and behavior, which is abduction. It is always wrong. You should never abduct people. That is a crime. And I don't care if you are a supernatural boss of another supernatural being. Let's not be abducting people. We then have -3 for our main relationship regression or breakup, which is of course the fact that the rutabaga fails and the groom is abducted, possibly never to be seen again. This of course devastates Piper, and well, it can't be anything other than a regression or breakup because obviously one half of the pairing has now been taken. So the relationship cannot move forward until such a time as he may or may not be returned. Though, as rewatchers, spoilers, he's returned later. But for now, he's gone. And that brings us to 14 points, which makes this episode the second 10 out of 10 for season 3. Now, once again, we do have a brief reminder that when two episodes on our mostly objective ranking have the same score, they are just ranked in episode order, the order that they aired in. And so our list so far is The Honeymoon's Over, and then in second place, this episode, Magic Hour. So obviously, I really liked this episode. Unlike the last episode, I also liked the main plot. I felt like the parallel story of the true love that gets its happy ending was very fitting to go alongside the tragic outcome of the attempted elopement of Piper and Leo. I like the Phoebe Cole meet cute flirting. I like that we as the audience are let in already that he is evil, but that the sisters and Leo obviously don't know this. So it kind of gives that feeling of superiority of I know something you don't know, which we all love to have. I like that Kit was seen for the first time in a while because honestly, at the end of like the last season, I felt like she was pretty missing. And so it is nice to see her again. And she was the one, of course, who brought the owl, who turns into Christopher. I like the whole concept of the curse. I also love the way that when the demon was vanquished, it started burning from the heart and outwards because, you know, he'd fallen in love with Brooke. That was the reason that he cursed them. And then them breaking the curse and having their true love's kiss is what ends up vanquishing him. So he essentially vanquished himself, which is great. The sisters barely had to do anything. Obviously, I don't like that Leo was abducted, but I also love the drama that that brings. The relationship drama is one of the things about the series that I personally like the best. So I loved that. Overall, honestly, I thought this was one of the stronger episodes, and that is why I decided to rank it a 9 out of 10 for my personal ranking, as obviously there were some aspects, i.e., Leo being abducted and the failure of the wedding, that I didn't necessarily like, but I also liked it at the same time. I was a bit conflicted on it. Which brings us to, in first place, this episode. And then in second place, The Honeymoon's Over. Which now brings us to the final segment of the video, which is our series ranking so far. Under our mostly objective ranking, we have Season 2 coming into first place with 75%, Season 1 in second place with 73.18%, and Season 3 so far has earned 20 points out of a possible maximum score of 220. Moving on to our personal ranking, we have Season 1 holding strong to first place with 71.50%. Season 2 did not make a strong showing and only earned a fit score of 56.82%. But Season 3 is starting strong with an total score so far of 17 out of 220. So with that, we've now rewatched and ranked Charmed Season 3 Episode 2, Magic Hour. Like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you in the next episode.